The question I have is, what are the most critical changes that we must face, that we must make to face the future effectively? You talked about how we need to rise up now.
Yes.
And you guys had your chance, kind of a thing.
Yes. I think that it comes down to what has been prophesied. We were told that in the last days, and congratulations, I think we're pretty close to that kind of statement, that there would be a rise of primitive godliness. Mm-hmm. The simplicity of Christ in me, the hope of glory. We become so sophisticated in our faith. That's why many people give up on faith. Mm-hmm. There are people who think that faith is a religion. Mm-hmm. I'm faithful to church. I arrive on time. I give a faithful tithe. Those are all important forms and functions. But the primitive faith is when it's mine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When I personally am convicted and I'm living this in my life. And that's what's missing in a lot of people's lives, that they're busy doing all the right things. And Jesus also showed us through the apostle that it was in the church of Laodicea. They were doing really well. They returned a faithful tithe. They upgraded their churches. They had fat and they need of nothing, but they didn't realize they were wretched and naked and needing everything spiritually. In other words, a primitive godliness is when it becomes yours again. And the Lord also referred to returning to your first love. Like a marriage can come to return to its first love. See, and that's what we are calling now. And we've been told by the inspired writer, God is pleased when his people place high demands upon him. And now we're saying, Lord, fulfill this word now, that a rise of primitive godliness will come, that we quit being so selfish about what church is, about what faith is, and now ask ourselves, am I myself living this? Do I really believe this? If that happens, that's called a revival. Mm. See, it revives your faith. Now, I had family and others, who work for ambulances, and they come upon an accident and the patient is coding. They revive them. Mm. See, and there are times when our faith is literally coding and we're about to lose what's left of our faith, and God revives us.
So you're saying that to kind of get into the servant mindset, to get that trending, it's going back to that first love, that revival.
Back to the roots of where we began. And it's the same with the church. We began as a movement, and the prophecy says we will end as a movement. I remember in a general conference, I was there almost 20 years. I sat in a committee one day of evangelism, and I'm an evangelist, And by the way, congratulations to Oregon Conference for bringing in an evangelist. That makes me very proud as a fellow evangelist to see you taking this leap of faith, this risk for souls. And those of you who are unsure of what evangelism matters, how does a church grow unless we're all in this to bring someone to the feet of Jesus? And so I just had to throw that caveat in there. But truly, at this moment, it comes down to if we're going to have this revival, if we're going to have this new beginning, it must come from within. Mm. And so my role as a speaker at camp meeting this year is to essentially be a provocation and get people to look heavenward. Because if God can bless one, he can bless the other too. If God can spare us during this pandemic enough that we look heavenward, now that we don't have our own stuff to save ourselves, now that we're having to wear masks, can't go anywhere without these things, and luckily we're socially spaced here, but imagine in just 5 months ago, 6 months ago, when did we imagine we'd be in a worldwide crisis? Yeah. When did we imagine the economy would be tanking? Forget about politics. These are the realities of everyday life. There are 41 million Americans out of work. There's a crisis upon us, and we are the Seventh-day Adventists. We are Christians. We are believers in something that's bigger than ourselves. If we return to that primitive godliness from which we began, what will God do?
Yeah.